Hey everybody, how's it going? Wanted to put together a video to start to talk about open rolls and double strokes in the reverse order. Double strokes for ascend rolls. So this is really a video for the snare drums because I know that you guys are working and learning and getting a sense for what double stroke rolls actually are. So this video is for you. So just if you bear with me for a second so I can talk about what double strokes are and what goes into a double stroke roll, I think that you'll find it somewhat insightful. So basically a double stroke, or a diddle for that matter, is when we have a principal rhythm and we take those note values and we double it by hitting the drum not once but twice. So that's a double. So generally what happens is if you have a principal note value, we're multiplying that note value by 2 by using doubles. So if we start out with, say, eighth notes in 4/4 time, we play something like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, the diddles will turn that into 16th notes. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. Okay, and you can see now that I'm hitting the drum twice for each one of those principal strokes. So my principal strokes remain to be the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, but I'm hitting it twice. So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, or up to tempo. If I do this like in a 2-measure groove, I'll go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, we're done. So that's the essence of double strokes. And the double, like the trick with double stroke rolls, or I guess it's not a trick, it's really a secret, is that they can like happen in any tempo. So like I could do like eighth note, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and on the double strokes. We could do like a triplet bass, 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly, 1. Or, and just speed it up from there, 16 notes. We could do a triplet bass, 1 lolly, 2 lolly, which gives us, going from triplets into sextuplets, and then, take it all the way up to open rolls. So 16 notes with the 32nd note, double. 1, 2, 3, 4, you're done. Okay, so pretty straightforward stuff there. The stroke itself is a little bit complicated and it's not intuitive. So if I step back for a second and we talk about like your entire arm motion, basically you have a series of like bones, right? Like these rigid things that are happening down here, and you've got pivot points. So you've got a pivot point up here at your shoulder, and you've got a pivot point here at your elbow, and you've got a pivot point like here at your wrist, and then behind there you've got your fingers, right? These are like the smallest little levers and the smallest little pivots. So you've got like a really big like lever right here, so this is all power, no finesse, and then down here at your wrist you get like a little bit of power and a little bit of finesse, and then here at your fingers you have basically all finesse but very little power. And like having a really good stroke is a combination of all of these levers. So you may have learned like, well, we need to play with our wrists. Well, that's true. But if you think about it, and you can see it when I play, if I lock my fingers in and I don't move my upper arm, that's kind of a weird stiff motion there. There's no resonance in the stick. There's really no control, and it takes a lot of effort to do that. But if I loosen up my upper arm and if I start using my fingers in conjunction with my wrists, now I can get a much more relaxed stroke, much more fluid. The stick bounces better. It's not nearly as much effort, and I get a better sound. So everything that we do is a balance between those things. And doing double strokes is really no different. So if we were to start out really, really slowly with a double stroke and go essentially 1 like that, you can see that I'm doing 2 big motions, right? That's the stroke on its own. Stroke, stroke, and then stroke, stroke. So there's nothing really unified about that. Every stroke stands on its own. Now as I start to speed that up, I can keep that up for a while, right? I can do that individual stroke motion for
for quite a bit. But there starts to come a point where, like, I don't have the strength and the dexterity to grip the stick and do every beat as its own individual little stroke. And what I have to do then is I have to start loosening my fingers a little bit. So the smallest levers, they stop gripping the stick for an individual stroke, and they start to become like shock absorbers. They become springs that allow the stick to rebound and maintain a lot of control. And what happens is, as we start slow and go faster with that, it's a transition. You start out very slowly with full strokes, and then when you get up to full speed, you're using a lot of rebound in those fingers. You're not stroking out every note anymore, but you are using your fingers to really balance the rebound of the stick. So in the practice program, we actually have 2 exercises that are designed to meet this need. The first is, I believe, the 4th exercise, which is a double strokes, and then the 5th exercise, which is a roll. So the 4th exercise essentially goes 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're done. All right. So, and we get to do all those in time. And the trick with that double is it's going to work you up to a pretty fast tempo. And then when you start on the rolls, it's the exact same concept. It picks it up in the double time tempo. So before, where you were doing 8ths and 16ths and then working it up to, I think it's 180 beats per minute is the highest tempo on there. If you were to do that with 16th notes in 30 seconds, that would be the equivalent of 90 beats per minute, which I believe that the open roll starts at 100 beats per minute. So we're basically making like a pretty natural transition from the fastest speed of the doubles into the slowest speed of the rolls. And that is entirely by design. And what you should be doing as you do this is starting nice and slow. I'll do match grip. Starting nice and slow so that you can get really good articulation at the slow tempos with each double. 1 E and, 2 E and, 3 E and, 4 E and, 1. And then on the left hand, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. Because what that's going to do is that's going to teach you how to full stroke all the doubles at a really low tempo, and also enforces the fact that there's rhythmic integrity here, right? These are all note values. They're not just thrown out and hope for the best. These are actual notes that we have to play. And then as you move faster through that exercise, you're going to have to start feeling it out, that you're going to have to relax. You're going to have to start to relax a little bit and let those finger springs going. And then when you transition into the rolls, you pick up where you left off with that same feeling in the fingers. All right. So that's why we have that transition. There is another way to come at rolls, and that's to start with really strong presses, and then we start to relax our hands a little bit until you feel the bounce, and you work your way, backwards from the strong presses into an open roll. And I would recommend that you try that once or twice, but that's really not the best way to train. Simply because it doesn't enforce the sense that there is actual rhythmic integrity that we have to maintain here in the doubles. And then also, like, you're training across a range that you're never going to use in music, okay? Like, if I start slow, I have a ton of applications for double strokes along the entire spectrum of tempos, right? So different tempos, different note values. I mean, there's a lot of work that can be done and a lot of music to be had between starting at the very slowest tempo and working your way up to a roll. And if you have mastery along that entire spectrum, then you're in really good shape. You're really well served by that. But if you start with the presses and try to open that up into an open roll, I guess I can't think of a musical application for like sloppy pseudo diddles. I've never seen that interpretation, and I don't know where you would use it. So you're better served by starting slow and moving faster in that regard. So that's like the mental construct and the context that I want you to approach those two exercises. It will make your rules better, and the goal is to get maintain a nice rhythmic integrity, get nice articulation on the sound, and then ultimately the snare drummers and the quad players in particular, that's how we clean it up, because if everybody's got a really good rhythmic interpretation of what's going on and they can get good articulation, then we can lock everything together. The last note about locking things together, and this is really kind of a simplistic view. So we talked about rolls and doubles as having like this skeleton, this background pattern. Say it be 16 notes, and then we hang the doubles or we hang the diddles on that rhythm. Okay, so it's easy to think of doing an open roll or any diddle for that matter as almost like you're tuning a radio and there's only two knobs. And the first knob controls the speed of your background note, and the second knob controls how close or how open the diddles are, right? So you could have like a nice background rhythm that's perfectly in time, but you could have diddles that are too closely spaced, so we can kind of get like a, right? And I hope that comes through, on the video. It was kind of weird to do. So when we're trying to clean everything, there's really only a couple things that can go wrong with cleaning an open roll. One is that, the first knob, basically the underlying hand rhythm, is off. And we either need to compress the spacing of the underlying rhythm or open it up. So when we compress it, what we're doing is we're increasing the tempo, and when we're opening up the spacing, we're decreasing the tempo. And then the other knob that we can control to try to tune and get our diddles in there perfectly is just how squashed or open we make the diddles themselves. From something that's like really squashed to something that's, I'm not even sure how we would do that, like really like too wide open diddles. We need to tune ourselves between those two knobs, the underlying hand speed and then the double speed, to get a really nice roll that matches up with all the players. Because once it matches up with all the players, then like magic happens and the roll projects, and you're heard over the clarinets and the audience goes wild. So yeah, that's the story with that. I'll go ahead and post it. I know it's kind of a long-winded video, but definitely try those exercises with that context in mind. And if you have any questions, let me know, and I'm sure I'll see you in rehearsal. Bye.